Our first GlennExtra speaker. This year we have Kris Brown coming up. She's a Deputy Associate Administrator for STEM engagement at NASA. So Kris, why don't you come on up? If you have slides, you can just pop through, or he'll just move them for you.
Good morning. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me all right? So I'm delighted to be with you all this morning and thrilled to be able to kick off your session today and be able to share with you our work that we do in STEM engagement at NASA. So first of all, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about why I'm here today. I'm here today on a mission. I'm here to invite you to join me on our important mission in inspiring and engaging students. As you know, in our collective work that we do with partners in industry and academia, we are engaged in a broad portfolio of missions that span aeronautics, earth and space science, and technology and human exploration of space. All these missions are critically important to our nation's achievements in air and space. I know that you've been engaging with leaders and experts throughout the symposium the last couple of days and learning more about these exciting endeavors. Our mission in STEM engagement is vital to our collective ability to be able to continue to advance all of the work that we're doing. Our mission is to build a diverse, skilled future STEM workforce. My purpose today is to enroll you in joining me on that mission, and I'll share more in a bit. But first, I'd like to provide a little bit of context. First of all, a little bit about me. I like to share my background because it's highly relevant to what I'm talking about today. I grew up in a small rural factory town in Pennsylvania, and I was the first person in my family to go to college. I like to share this about myself up front because I can speak in a very compelling way about the power of education in creating possibilities in people's lives. My journey in STEM began really early. I grew up in that small neighborhood in Pine Grove. There were mostly boys in that neighborhood, so I ended up literally playing in the dirt piles in the back of our homes with those boys. And soon after, discovered this idea of and discovering a love for building. When I was 6, my dad brought home a Lego set, and I became much more immersed in building and discovering a love for drawing, art, and design. In school, I had that strong affinity to math and science, which I think all of us in this room probably will say that we had. But there were very limited opportunities in my little town where I grew up to be able to take advantage of anything beyond what I was learning in school. Given my love for art and design, I ended up majoring in architecture at Virginia Tech. I wanted to be an architect. Throughout the first year, I found that it really resonated with me, the ideas around functionality in architecture. Frank Lloyd Wright was my hero, which is why you see a picture of falling water on this slide. And after some discernment, I transferred into engineering. After a few years in the private sector, I ended up landing at NASA. I began my journey at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in the mechanical engineering branch, working on space and earth science missions across a wide spectrum. This entailed a lot of hands-on work, design, analysis, integration, and test, and I spent a lot of time in those days in a bunny suit. Highlights included launch preps for the TDRS satellite, serving as a systems engineer in the early stages of the ISAT mission, leading a systems engineering branch, and creating and operating Goddard's Integrated Mission Design Center. Later, I served as assistant to the director for strategy and development at Goddard, in which I helped author NASA's response to the Columbia Accident Investigation Board report. It was in this role, though, that I began to pivot to where I am today, where I led a number of initiatives dedicated to public engagement, which forged the path into the role that I have today. Essentially, what I did was aligned my passion for engaging young people and for me personally, engaging girls and young women in STEM to the work that I do each and every day. So I wanted to share this about me. It was for a real deliberate reason, is that hopefully you found some connections, something that resonated with you or that was a parallel. We all have our own stories to tell, and each and every one of you in this room has a story that a student might find compelling, that might help inspire them and engage them in the work that we do. A little bit more context about what we do at NASA in STEM engagement. Our organization's responsible for guiding NASA's efforts in work with students, educational institutions, and with educators. We have a strategy for NASA STEM engagement that is centered on 3 strategic goals that you see here. The first is about creating opportunities for students to contribute to our work, experiential work where they're actually making contributions. The second goal is focused on that star out there of building our future diverse, skilled workforce with authentic learning experiences that students can really get into and get excited about. And the final goal is attracting the diverse set of students to STEM through the work that we do. Attracting students in K-12 is critical. Over the past 3 years, we've increased our emphasis in everything we do at NASA and STEM engagement on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. We work through, in the things that we offer, we work across a STEM engagement continuum. And we renewed our work at NASA in STEM engagement through the new strategic plan, which outlines strategic objective 4.3. It's explicitly dedicated to engaging students to build that diverse future STEM workforce. Our efforts across this continuum start with those learning opportunities that attract students into STEM, and then providing increasing levels of learning opportunities that help support and sustain students on STEM pathways, and to provide them, as they move through that continuum, more and more immersive experiences to help prepare them to enter higher education in a STEM field, and then hopefully to help them prepare to enter the workforce. We're placing critical importance on that K-12 piece, attracting students, and I'll talk to that next. We've established 3 focus areas moving forward for STEM engagement that are in alignment with the administration's priorities. The first is to expand NASA's contributions in engaging those K-12 students. We recognize that in K-12, it's essential for us to bring in elementary and middle school students into the pipeline in order for us to have a broad, diverse workforce eventually. The second focus area is looking at how do we have strategies that broaden student participation so that we do have diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM. And then finally, how do we continue to build productive strategic partnerships and networks in order to bolster our impact? The work we do indeed has an impact. Our office manages a budget of $137 million this year, and it's devoted to offering competitive opportunities for students and for educational institutions in the form of grants and cooperative agreements. We measure our impact through the measures that you see here. I allow you to look at those at your leisure. Essentially, last year, through that investment, we reached 3 million students and over 130,000 educators. We're making solid contributions to engaging students in STEM, but we know that we need to do more and we need to do better, which is why I'm here on my mission. So bottom line, here you see, again, our work in action engaging students. I'd like you all to get involved, and I'd like to challenge you in helping me mobilize our collective workforce to commit personal time and energy to engaging and inspiring students. So I'm going to briefly talk about why. Why do we need to do this? There are 3 relevant areas of need that I wanted to note. The first is there's evidence that the current domestic supply of STEM workers is not sufficient to meet the demands that we see in future. estimates suggest that the United States will need 1 million more STEM professionals than it's on track to produce in the coming decade. Second, a large portion of our current STEM workforce is nearing retirement age, and that's especially true at NASA. Third, women and other minority populations are disproportionately underrepresented in STEM fields. We need to shift the demographics in order to have the STEM workforce better reflect the population at large. I'd like to dive into a few stats on that. While women make up 52% of the college-educated U.S. workforce, only 27% comprise the science and engineering workforce. This is a big improvement over 50 years ago, where it was only 8%. But in some notable fields, particularly in the physical sciences, what we're involved in, and computer science, the disparity is still large. For instance, women make up less than 16% of the engineering workforce, and 25% of the computer science workforce. When I started, there were less than 9% women in the engineering workforce. And at that time, being the sole woman in the room and faced with challenges, especially early in my career, while it's been a rewarding one, it's been a difficult one. And the same is true, unfortunately, for women today. Beyond gender, overall, we need to shift the demographics of the science and engineering workforce. In 2018, Asians earned 11% of bachelor's degrees in science and engineering, Hispanics 15%, Black or African American 8.5%, American Indian Alaska Natives 0.4%. In order to reflect our nation's population, we clearly need to do better here. Not to mention having us be able to sustain a healthy pipeline of future STEM workers to meet the demands that we see globally in public health, climate change, technological advances that are needed, and of course, our work in the aerospace industry. Girls and boys, especially from underserved and underrepresented groups in STEM, must readily be able to see themselves in STEM by seeing and experiencing people who are doing STEM work like you and me that makes a difference in society and in people's lives who look like them. And that's where you come in. So back to my mission. We want to engage our partners in industry and academia in expanding our footprint and broadening student participation in reaching educators and students across the country. The work we do at NASA in exploration and discovery and across our aerospace industry is powerful, compelling, inspirational, and makes a difference in the world in terms of societal impact. These are key ingredients in a recipe that translates to grand potential for us to ignite a spark in students and to move them to explore and learn more. A vivid example of this played out last week. We captured the attention and the imagination of people all across the globe with literally once-in-a-lifetime images from James Webb Space Telescope. We made a dent last week in bolstering science literacy and inspiring people to learn more. Another thing that I imagine you probably notice when you travel, many of you maybe traveled here, is that young people all across the country are wearing NASA gear. You see the meatball everywhere, or the worm logo everywhere. T-shirts, hats, backpacks, shoes. I mean, there's just, I noticed it because I've been traveling recently, and it was very prevalent for me. What I would like to do with this mission, and if you choose to join me on this mission, is to translate that interest into curiosity and into action. Enrolling more of those young people wearing that NASA gear to think about, to dream about, maybe being a scientist or engineer one day, or even possibly an astronaut. This is a mission of possibilities. Imagine if each of us in this room took on the mantle of being actively engaged in this work. Imagine if all of us in this room who are leaders of teams in this industry would mobilize our employees to do work in engaging students. And imagine if each and every one of us took on at least one opportunity to do something with students over the next year. I believe that that's a challenge worthwhile for us to pursue. And we have a lot of resources to help you. So we have a large number of engagement activities all across the country, as you see on this map, in all 50 states and the territories. And if you look closely, for those of you who are from this region around Ohio, there's a lot around here. There are lots of ways for students to get involved. We have a number of activities that are virtually available to students in K-12. We have student challenges and competitions, essay contests, Astro Camp, science resources, STEM on Station, educational downlink opportunities, student engagement activities, as well as Space Grant, which offers activities across the United States in all 50 states. We offer incredible internship opportunities for high school and college students. Last year, we had over 2,300 interns. For graduate students, we offer fellowships across a large number of disciplines. And as you can see on the left of this chart, there are a lot of links for you to go and explore more. We also offer lots of resources and opportunities for educators. We have an educator professional development collaborative which engages with educators all across the country. It offers them training modules and opportunities for them to earn badges and then to lead their students in learning badges. And we have a new platform called GlennExtra, which enables educators to join us, enabling an ability for them to get much more access to resources and opportunities that we develop. I'd like to also tell you about an opportunity that's coming up very soon that we're calling our NASA Back to School campaign. We're going to actively promote all of the things that we do at NASA in this realm over a 3-week period beginning August 8th. If you can be on the lookout for this, it will be in social media and it will be shared in across the NASA network. I'd love for you to pass along any of this information to your colleagues. You can use Back to School, in a sense, as a launch pad in mobilizing your teams to get out there and connect with students. If you'd like to learn more, you can connect with us on social media and on stem.nasa.gov. And lastly, I'd like to offer, if you'd like to learn more about what we do at NASA in STEM engagement, we have our highlights document, which is this is our third annual, essentially annual report. And it really provides a vivid picture and lots of details and metrics about the work and results that we produce in STEM engagement. So in closing, I hope that I have inspired you adequately, although albeit it's early in the morning, to join me on my mission. If we all mobilize our colleagues and our teams to take on this challenge of igniting that spark in a student, starting to bring them into a place of imagination, to be able to vividly see that they might have a role in STEM and a place in space. I hope that that's something that you will consider and look forward to having you join us on this journey of building a vibrant, diverse, future-skilled STEM workforce. Thanks so much. It's been great to be here. And with that, I guess, are there any questions? I heard you say something about questions, so.
You're good.
Hi, thank you very much for the great presentation and wonderful overview of that excellent program. Diane Poster from the Office of Space Commerce. I was wondering, it's great to see all the connections to the educators and the classrooms. And I was wondering if parts of your program are connected to the film and television and entertainment industry, where children can see roles of of people being played in these capacities, technical capacities, engineers, things like that, and what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thanks, Diane. That's a great question. So our Office of Communications is really responsible for fostering those relationships with the entertainment industry and the multimedia, and we work hand in hand with them on any of the things, that, especially when we get around to talking about big NASA milestones, for instance, as in James Webb. Artemis 1 is coming up, and there's a number of activities that will be happening around Artemis 1. And we absolutely try to take advantage of getting our star STEM people out there into the media and being able to shine the spotlight on them so that can resonate, especially with young people. So in addition to that, we've developed a number of what I would call high-profile partnerships with entities like Lego, Discovery, Education, Google. We have something that we're working with Google that's coming up, where we're trying to get all of that career awareness, excitement around the work we do out into the space, into educational opportunities in the case of Discovery Education and in Lego, but also in allowing those partners to utilize their platforms and their large networks of users to be able to spread great information out there about what we're doing and to get people excited about the work. So great question. We're doing our best to try to, again, kind of expand that footprint. We need to expand the footprint of the students that we reach, because in a sense, what we spend at NASA is a teeny weeny blip in comparison to what the investment probably needs to be in terms of enhancing STEM education. So thanks, Diane.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hi. I'm the former co-chair of the Women's Advisory Group at NASA Glenn, and we're always looking for opportunities to volunteer. Who should I contact currently at Glenn to help set up with the August stuff?
Oh, that'd be great. So Darlene Walker is the head of our STEM engagement office at Glenn, and her team, I'm sure, will be poised and ready to just love to have any volunteer help.
Yep. So we've been looking to do that for a while. So.
Yeah, and that's something that we're doing kind of agency-wide, is we're trying to connect with all of the employee groups in terms of trying to tap into existing networks in order to reach the demographics of the underserved and underrepresented in STEM, and that includes the women's groups. But it'd be great for you to connect with her.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Kris. Tim Crane with Intuitive Machines. From the corporate industry perspective, what would be the number one thing you would say to our community about how to engage? You know, we all have our own hiring practices, our own programs and things, but where is the best place for us to plug in and kind of get a 1 and 1 equals 3 effect for STEM?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I do think this notion of us mobilizing, which is something that we're starting to talk about more, is mobilizing within your workforce to be able to get out there. And I think that's key, because students are going to learn. I was talking to Stephen down here at my table, and we were talking about ways for him to connect in and get some learning opportunities. They learn from people like us, mentors and guides, and they get exposure to, even in K-12, they're getting exposure to things that they can start to discern what it is that they want to do. So for me, I think that's the one of the most important pieces. You know, if you talk to a student who's in middle school, I would say very, 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 very few students in middle school know what an engineer does. I mean, I think they don't know. So, and what they will know is by seeing. So that's one of the reasons why our work with Discovery Education, for instance, they have a huge platform of students and educators across the world, is an ability to be able to have them see and understand. I think the other thing is just offering those programs. so that and we are more than happy to collaborate with all of you in industry in terms of having us be able to talk about best practices, the kinds of things that we could be doing potentially together or in concert with one another, so that we can build an awareness that we are getting out there. We're getting out there and reaching students, and that it's very important to us. Thanks for the question. All right. Thank you all, and best wishes for the rest of your day today. Thanks.